All right, we should be ready to go.
Welcome, everybody, to our Harnessing AI for Teaching and Learning. We are really excited to have everybody in the house today. Today is a pretty exciting topic. We're going to talk about assessment and leveling up our learning. If you have not had a chance to log your attendance, you can follow along here in the chat box. We have entered the attendance link. You can also join us on in the notes document. We're going to ask you to make a copy of these notes. So you can do that by grabbing the tiny URL, Harness AI-3, and that will force you to make a copy. And if you have joined us for these Harnessing AI or any of the workshops that we have done in the past, you may notice that we try to use these notes documents as a way to kind of help you get prepared in advance of the topic that we're going to be covering. You'll see that we've got the link for today's attendance, the PDF for you to walk away with of the presentation. We've got the link to our tool we're going to use today is Navigator, and a couple of other links. As you move through, if we give you a prompt to try, usually it's here in the notes document. And we've tried to separate it into the different sections that we're going to be using so that you can follow along with us. And so hopefully that is an opportunity for them to jump in and make a copy, right, Mike?
That's right. And I dropped that link in the chat as well.
Okay, awesome sauce. All right. Okay, well, today's workshop is number 3 of 4 in our Harnessing AI series. Today is going to be about evaluating the potential of AI assessments for your course. And I'm Jennifer Parker from the Center for Teaching Excellence. I'm joined today by our amazing, fun, and fabulous group, Mike Barber from CTE, Chris Sharp from CITT, and Margot Johnson from the AI Squared Center. So we are going to do our very best to keep it lively, entertaining, and exciting around the conversation of AI, because we all know that that's really what it is. It's pretty exciting. So as I mentioned, this is session 3. If you are part of our Harnessing AI faculty learning community, you have participated in the last couple sessions. If you're new to our series on Harnessing AI, note that we did have 2 previous sessions that you can probably still get access to the recordings of, or sign up next semester. And then we have one more coming up on the 21st. That'll be ethics, academic integrity, and accessibility. And I know Margot is going to be joined by John Jordy for that one. So that's going to be pretty exciting. Any tips, Margot, or any teasers for these guys about that session that's coming up in November?
No, we should have some fun activities where you write your own AI course policy. We should have some case studies to look at. And I think a real highlight with looking at accessibility in AI and how AI could support accessible learning environments for your students.
Awesome. Thanks, Margot. I know we're all looking forward to that session. Well, today's learning objectives are all about giving you an opportunity to experiment with generative AI. We're going to talk a little bit about how AI can help you with your productivity. Kind of an ongoing theme for our group here has been take your Sundays back. And we're going to try and talk you through some ideas about how you can use AI to support your work with your assessments and your evaluation. We'll be looking at some frameworks to critically evaluate some of your learning objectives against some of your assessments. And we'll be thinking about different ways that you can use the AI tool to make it easier for you. All right. Our agenda, we're going to start out with a bang with an icebreaker, and then we'll launch right into creating some multiple choice. We'll talk about case studies. We'll get in there and we'll think more about how you can use this. All right. So let's lead with something fun and fabulous. How about a little bit of an icebreaker? We want to know a little bit more about how you guys might use AI in assessments. Like, how are you currently using it? And if you're not using it, it's free. You're free to say that too. If I come to my notes document, you guys have a link to this Padlet right here. When you click on your Padlet link for your copy, it's going to bring you into the wide ocean of ideas. And we're hoping that you'll jump into Padlet. If you have not used it before, down in the bottom right-hand corner is this green plus, which turns into a pencil. You can pop that up and you can add your idea. We're wondering, how are you using AI with assessments? So we'll give you about a minute or so to kind of think about it and add an idea to our idea board. Thank you, Evan. You're the winner. First person. It's on the board. Started using text generative AI to help brainstorm incorrect answers. Feedback fruits, Groovy Emu, love it. I have students develop images for assignments where they create infographics. Practice discussion questions. Quality. Critique. Automating. Creating, drafting. Brainstorming. Evan, would you be willing to share out your idea about the brainstorming incorrect?
Sure, and I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well today, which is why my camera is off, and I apologize if I sound off.
That's okay.
So, uh, yeah, I'm really, I feel like I'm pretty capable at coming up with a good question and knowing exactly how to frame the right answer, but trying to think through how students might make some assumptions or presumptions and trying to evaluate those answers has not always been my strong suit. So I've prompted text generative AI with clarification on the level of the course, the learning objectives for that unit, and what my question and answer are, and then ask it to give me 3 to 5 possible incorrect answers. I have had to reprompt occasionally with like try to use less biologically essentialist answers for a sociology class. But yeah, for the most part, it's been really helpful in thinking through what possible answers could trip students up.
I like how you were, you mentioned a couple of things like aligning to the learning objectives, and that can be something that we often, when you're just brainstorming a multiple choice assessment, sometimes we lose sight of those learning objectives and we just try to hit the magical number of items. I appreciate that you were thinking about that, as well as the distractors and being methodical about the distractors. Sometimes we make it so obvious what the correct answer is that it can often be difficult. So thank you for sharing.
Mhm.
Anybody else want to share how they're using AI right now in their current practice for assessment?
I'll share just because I think not a lot of people have this need or struggle. In my classes, we have to tell stories, and not just traditional film stories in like motion graphics classes or visual effects, special effects, or animation, which are things that have never been imagined before. And sometimes it helps students to understand the trajectory of what they want to do themselves, but at the same time, think about the logistics it might take to accomplish some of the shots. So then we break that down as we can visualize it. We all see the same thing, and then we break down what it's going to take to accomplish that, from rigging, equipment, time management, and all those things just from an image.
It almost sounds like you're using it to help support with the process. And I saw a couple of folks mention how they're using it for the writing process or the brainstorming process. It sounds like you're using it for the process of your videography. Yes?
That's correct.
Yes. Okay. All righty. Thank you for sharing. Let's try one more. One more person, go out on a limb. Share with us what you're using AI for in your assessment practices. I'm really good at wait time, you guys. I taught high school in another lifetime. What about Trish?
Oh, good.
I'm not using it yet.
Okay. Jen, did you have a thought?
I was just gonna move us along and say, I teach educational leaders and they look at student academic data and they do a little analysis. It's for their state exam. And so they did that and then compared what the Chat GPT did. We actually put the data into it and then it did an analysis and then they compared and contrast their analysis with robots, I guess, essentially.
I love it. I love that you're using it for data analysis. That's really kind of
Yeah,
one of
we've
the big
trick or
draws.
treating going on in our hall, so people are coming and going.
It's a great outfit you got going on,
I'm
Jen.
staying off camera here because
Awesome. Well, thanks for moving us along. Appreciate you guys. Where we're gonna go next is we're gonna think about more critically how we can use some of these ideas that we've already started sticking our toes in the water. How can you use AI to create assessments? In this section, we're going to talk about using AI, and as you may have been introduced to last time, we are going to use Navigator, which is our UF tool. And Chris is in the house to support us if we have any struggles, because he has, if any of you guys were at AI Days, it was really great. Margot and Chris did amazing sessions and had lots of us learning all kinds of great ideas. So if you have questions, please make sure you're throwing them in the chat box. All right, we're going to talk about reviewing criteria and thinking about why we would use an AI tool to create some of our content. Multiple choice questions are usually the most important assessment type that we have. They're kind of easy to go to because we can quickly identify some trends and do some data analytics on it. It covers a lot of different topics. We can usually create that question, have 3 or 4, usually 4 distractors or four choices. And we get a quick read on the mean, median, and mode and get some statistics on some of the questions that are not good. The limitations are that sometimes we're not good at writing these questions. Our distractors, the answers that are incorrect, sometimes we're not really good at writing those, and sometimes they're easy to guess. When you're crafting multiple choice questions, it's important to understand kind of the breakdown of the structure of a multiple choice question. The question itself is called the STEM. The answer obviously is the correct answer, but alternatives are also often called distractors. But the essential element here is trying to come up with distractors that are not really ludicrous, that they kind of make sense, so they might be possible, but that the student knows it so well that they know the answer is correct. One of the ways we might use AI in creating a multiple choice assessment, you guys have examples of this. I'm going to have it generate 5 college level multiple choice questions. And my topic is going to be the water cycle. And I'm going to include correct answers with rationale. And then I'm going to ask it to align it to some learning objectives. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to ask my Navigator tool to generate 5 college level multiple choice questions that cover the water cycle and include correct answers with rationale. So it's going to give me these quick questions. Again, it gives me the correct answer and it gives me some rationale. So sometimes when you're using an online system, you may want to enter this in an item bank. When the student chooses the incorrect answer, you can give it the right answer with the rationale. Other times when it answers the correct answer, you want it to have the rationale of what the correct answer was. So it's often helpful to have this language. So I like to add that to my prompts. So I have it create my quick questions. Then I ask it to align it to my student learning objectives. So again, in your prompts, remember, it remembers the conversation, kind of like you're sitting talking with somebody. You remember what it was just talking about, and we're just building that dialogue or building that chat. So I've asked this to describe the stages, identify the main sources, and then it goes in and it continues. And so it has actually given me the rationale as well as aligned it to the objectives. So I'm down to my 5 questions that are better than the original. So I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to ask you guys to go into your Navigator tool. We're going to try creating 5 multiple choice questions, and then you can follow up with a reprompt and ask it to come up with, to align it to some learning objectives. And feel free to try this with your own content area if you don't want to use the water cycle. So we'll start here by going into Navigator. Again, if you're off campus, you need to be using the VPN. It will come into Navigator chat and you can enter your prompt right here. So I will pause and give you a second just to give that first prompt a try.
And you can customize that prompt instead of the water cycle. Ask it, replace the word water cycle with something from your discipline to customize that.
Yeah, what would be more exciting than the water cycle, Mike? I don't know.
There's
Brian's
only,
laughing. Brian's got an idea. All right, Brian, you laughed, so you're going to have to share what yours came up with.
I was laughing at the excitement of the water cycle.
All right, give you about another minute to give this a try. You went into Navigator. You can copy and paste this prompt if you want to just try it. And you can copy and paste in this reprompt and just give it a try. Dr. Spookergy, generate 5 college level multiple choice questions that cover the VLOOKUP function in Excel and include correct answers with rationale. Great example. All right, does anybody want to share out how it went? Was it good, bad, or ugly? Larissa, you did it work?
Yeah, it gave me 5 multiple choice questions with correct answer and rationale.
And you being the content expert, what is your topic? What are you having it create 5 questions about?
No, I just added water cycle.
You did the water cycle, okay?
Just seeing how it works, but I'm not an expert.
All right,
Yeah, and I can add my topic now.
awesome. Trish, I see you tried it with the temperance movement in North America.
Yeah, that's correct. In the humanities, we're not usually spending quite as much time at the bottom of Bloom's taxonomy with recall questions, although there's certainly a place for those. It said the first question was, what's the primary cause? And it ChatGPT or Navigator, sorry, named the Industrial Revolution. That's certainly a cause. You would need to write an essay explaining why it was the dominant cause. So I'm, it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, this would be something that I might ask students to get. I would ask students to ask it to create questions and then evaluate whether they agree with what the robot did.
I like that you were thinking about Bloom's taxonomy too. We're gonna talk a little bit about that. Thank you for sharing. Jessica, I've got yours up here. Only use the AAN neurology journals and guidelines, professional society guidelines, and up-to-date reference and question generation. Tell me a little bit about the prompt and all the specifics that you added in your prompt.
Well, but sorry, my mic wasn't down. So one of the things that our faculty have had real excitement about is being able to create quickly board review style questions that they can have after didactic sessions here. A reminder, I'm at the University of Florida's College of Medicine here in Jacksonville. So we've got residents and fellows that we're working with. And so the ability to know that a topic's coming and quickly generate some board level questions. So this actually is one of the examples that we've been sharing with them that they go in then and tweak. But we've had a lot of the thing they like the best about it is not just the rationale, but that there's a reference that is listed if you scroll down just a tad, so that a reference is given if the students, so the students themselves can use this kind of prompt and see what kind of questions and look at the references and also use it as a study tool. So we've found that it has multiple uses.
Amazing example. Definitely scales it up. It uses the tool. It presents so many different ways you can use the information.
Well,
It's timely.
and like we said, you know, our faculty sit, and if it's a blank page, it's a lot harder to generate 10 questions off the top of your head, but something like this gives you a diving board that then as the expert you can say, yes, that will work, or no, I need it to tweak this way. So our faculty have saved so much time with these types of resources.
Wonderful. Yep, taking your Sundays back. All right, Chris, I'm going to throw yours up there. It looks like supply and demand. Can you talk us through you're an economics professor?
Supply and demand just tends to be my default when I'm reaching for an example because my wife is a resource economics professor, and so I joke about supply and demand with her all the time. But just tried it out with telling the AI, giving the AI context about who I am, who I'm teaching, the specific topic, and what I wanted the answers to look like, and also going a little bit further, explaining the correct answer. Because, you know, in Canvas, if I were using this as a quiz, then maybe I want to provide some information about the feedback tools for when they select the correct answer, when they select the wrong answer. So kind of gives me some of those resources there to not only have the questions, but to kind of fill out the tools that Canvas gives us to provide some information back to students.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. Aishwarya, tell me a little bit about the difference between the tools that you tried.
Yeah, hi. So I mean, clearly Navigator AI only works with text, and I was trying to ask it for being able to generate questions, multiple choice questions on landscape architecture, technical drawing conventions. And those can be wordy questions, I don't mind, but showing that with visual examples is easier for students. So I wanted to use the questions it suggested and ask it to give me sources for visual examples or give me prompts to put into another visual AI software to get visuals for it to accompany it. I haven't reached the stage of asking it for prompts yet. And I think it's because maybe I want to identify the software I want to use. My question is, does Navigator AI know all the other AI software that exists right now? And will it be able to suggest a prompt accordingly?
And that's a question for Chris.
Does it know other AI software? So the Navigator Chat gives you access to many different large language models. So the experience that you could have depends greatly on this. Some of these models, you know, probably do have some knowledge of this, of other AI tools, but keeping in mind that these are all like general purpose tools. They're all these models are listed here are general purpose language tools, text completion tools. So when you start to get into some specific areas, you might see less targeted output that you might want. There's things you can do to modify this. Some suggestions, some things in the chat, people saying that Navigator chat offers less precise output. You know, maybe that is a symptom of which model you choose. You could choose some of the more complex models like GPT-4o or the Claude 3.5 Sonnet or like some of the advanced models that are in here. Claude 3.5 Sonnet comes from the company called Anthropic. Then also in Navigator chat, you get access to additional tools like being able to change how creative some of the outputs are. And that's within the temperature controls of this. So the Navigator chat's kind of like one of those tools that gives you a lot of buttons and whistles that you can play with to get the kind of output that you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And so when you use stuff like image generating AI, you still need words as prompts. And does the language and wording that's used on the image generation software, is that transferable with these other large language models in terms of that information existing on the internet?
I'm not sure I understand the question entirely. So when you were to generate images, you're describing what you want it to make, right? Like following some sort of architecture design pattern, right?
Yeah, so I mean to say that even like is there like a repository of all the worded prompts for these visual AI, like in terms of any sort of data collected on that these language-based AIs can learn from? Like, do they cross-pollinate that information?
So they are separate models. The tools used, these image generation models are separate from language, and they're kind of trained a little bit differently because the language models are trained all over bodies of text and helping infer the interconnections between words and phrases, versus in the image generation, they're trained on a lot of labeled data to begin with, and then the commonalities kind of start to play into it. So it kind of comes from a lot of labeled data that are tagged and sourced there, but they're not really directly connected. You could use one to ideate doing things on the other, and I'll also share in the chat here in just a bit a cookbook that is a prompt book for image generation that can give you some ideas of the types of words you could use to evoke different styles.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, and we are gonna look at a couple of examples of how you can upload images and have it come up with some test questions for you. So let's keep moving. Thank you. All right, so hopefully you had an opportunity to just get your feet wet with having it create 5 quick questions, give you some rationale or some correct answers and some distractors. In this next example, what I've done is I've uploaded an image. And when I upload the image, I can ask it to actually create 5 college level multiple choice questions based on the image and include the correct answers. Another example is I can upload a file like this chapter 5, and I can ask it to create 10 multiple choice questions based on the content in the chapter from the graduate level education course. So here is an example of me uploading the file. Okay, I upload the file, and the way you do that is right here with this little paper clip. So I upload the file and I give it my prompt, and it'll go ahead and generate my questions. I believe I used ChatGPT to upload the picture, and I was just kind of playing around with some tools. I've uploaded the picture and I ask it to generate. And again, you use that paper clip and it gives me some multiple choice questions. So that's a pretty good example of how you can use some of those tools. I'm going to just kind of fast forward a couple of more examples, and then we're going to give it a little bit of playtime. Again, a reminder, we're trying to get past those basic multiple choice. What you want to do is you could ask your tool, your AI generative tool like Navigator, to scale up the level of difficulty in these multiple choice questions. So an example might be to tell it to write higher order multiple choice questions that test something and ask it to use higher levels of Bloom's. So I'm telling it to evaluate or analyze. Another thing you can use your AI tool is to create a rubric. So in this example, I tell it to create a 5-point rubric for an essay on the water cycle. And then I reprompted it and asked it to do to display it in a rubric format. So let's see if I can find that. Chapter 5. Got my questions, got my this. I'll just put it right back in here. Right, 5 higher order questions. Take a college discipline.
I think this is your rubric prompt, right? The one
This is
that,
my rubric prompt.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Here it is. So I use Copilot for this one. So a 5-point rubric for the water cycle essay. And then when I ask it to change the format, it gives it to me in a table format. Thanks, Mike. So there's the example for that one. And then the last place I want to share with you before we give you a little bit of time is there is a resource that we do share in CTE about scaling up our multiple choice questions. You guys are free to do that, but we're going to give you about 5 or so minutes to give one of these a try. You can upload a picture, you could upload a PDF and ask it to create content. You can ask it to create a rubric, put it in a table format. We're going to give you just a couple of minutes. And again, we've given you some sample in the notes if you want to try any of these prompts. And the last thing I'll mention here is Chris and Leslie's AI prompt cookbook is here, and we have linked to the bookmark where you're talking about the recipes for some of your rubrics or multiple choice questions. Chris, did you want to mention anything about the prompt cookbook and some of these prompts that are in here that are so helpful?
So I think we looked at this one before. The idea here is it's a collection of prompts. If you're looking for, like, how do I get started? What could I do with AI? How could it help me? There's a lot of things in here to give you some ideas on where to begin with this. There's this generating questions section that you had here. And there's also the last third of the book or so is the elevated recipes. If you want to open up the sidebar, the table of contents, Jen, on the left-hand side, there's a section down at the bottom on elevated recipes that are like assignments that you might use that involve generative AI, asking students to try things out. So if you're looking for things in here that might be AI related to assignments, I would check out both generating questions and these assignment suggestion ideas down here at the bottom.
Awesome. Okay, give you guys a couple of minutes just to give this a try, and we'll be waiting for you to share back what you try. And Mike, while we're waiting, I'm gonna turn it back to you and let you queue up our next section.
Does anybody have something you'd like to share if you used an image or uploaded a PDF with content, or if you created a rubric? What were some of the interesting things that you found or any challenges that you noticed doing those?
Yeah, I tried to attach PDF and specifically refer to the section specific within the chapter to provide the rationale, and it did pretty well, very good questions. And I'm trying now higher order. Even without higher order, it gives me a very good, very context specific in the chapter multiple choice questions.
Okay, all right, good. And Larissa, you bring up a good point. If you upload a PDF, you can actually tell it specifically, I want content from pages, whatever to whatever, and it will stay within those parameters. So yeah, I like how you got specific with your prompt and had it zero in on a specific section. So
Yeah, it did. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Larissa, go ahead.
Yeah, it did first use references. And then I asked not to use references, but use the text itself. And then it did. Thank you.
okay,
Awesome. I
good.
wanna circle back because Margot had some dialogue in the chat. Margot, could you talk a little bit about the file storage and the upload and the concern of what you upload there and does it store it?
Sure, yeah. Right now we have agreements with both Microsoft Copilot and with the vendor that aggregates for Navigator chat. There are levels of data protection. So right now it's not approved for restricted or sensitive data, but all general data should be okay to use and protected. There are models that are hosted completely at UF, and when you're using those models, you your data is never leaving UF campus. So there are models that are hosted on HyperGator right here at UF. So we do expect soon in the future that there will be more uses of restricted data and specific uses where we might be able to use some FERPA data and analysis on these tools, but not yet.
I think Gabriella had a question too before we move on. About best practices with images. Gabriella, did you want to voice your question?
Yeah, I was just wondering if there are best practices. I put in an image that I just came from giving an exam. So I put in one of my exam images into Navigator and asked it, and it wasn't able to pull out all of the information from axes, labels, and that sort of thing from a graph that I like to use. So I had to give it quite a bit more information written in about the image before it sort of narrowed down to start asking questions that were more appropriate.
Yeah, so large language models aren't really designed to read images in the way that we would read images as a human, and they really are based more on text. So the better descriptions you give things with text, or for example, like if you had alt text associated with a document, it might be able to read something like that, but you have to think about like how the machine can read what you're inputting. So I do think these really aren't designed for working with an image upload in the same way that the human brain would.
Jessica had a follow-up question for you, Margot, about the files that you upload. Are they saved in the portal, in the Navigator portal?
They are, Jessica, but they are still like in that data protected status. And I know Chris could explain more. So like you can still find your own documents that you uploaded so that you can upload them again. But I think they're stored more locally. They're not like going into a large language model that can then be used later.
Okay, Mike, I think we're ready for you. Take us
All right.
away.
So you just had an opportunity to look at multiple choice questions. That's one way that you can assess your students. Another way that you can assess your student is using more, we'll say more authentic assessments. And what I mean by that is assessments that test students in ways that they might be more likely in the real world to encounter information. So it's a very artificial environment to sit down in a desk and fill out a bubble sheet. We're probably never after school going to be in situations where we're doing that. And so how can we create assessments that allow students to make decisions about things or solve problems, real world problems? And so that's what we're going to talk about a little bit next. So some of the benefits, case studies are a good way to do that, and creating case studies allow students to be able to do some of those higher order Bloom's things like analyze and evaluate, compare, contrast. So they do facilitate that higher order thinking, and it can bridge theory with actual practice. And so if you have students that are going to have skills in their careers, this is a great way to create some things that you can use for assessment that can do that. And certainly they can be paired with a reading or lecture to be aligned with whatever you're teaching. And you can use these on exams. You can use them as assessments. You can use them as in-class activities. There are a variety of ways to utilize these. So think about, as you're trying to think about case studies, does your case study have real world implications? Does it support data that you want them to be able to analyze? And is the problem open-ended? So here are some examples of prompts that you could put in to your AI tool. And these are a couple of different examples. I'm going to use a psychology example since I teach psychology. So I'm going to go to Navigator. Notice that you can click this little new chat button if you've got a lot of stuff on there and you just want to kind of clear the board, then you can do that. And then I'm just going to use Chat GPT for this. So I'm going to select that by clicking that drop down menu, and I'm going to ask it to create case studies for my intro psych class. So I'm going to input this little prompt, and I'm going to ask it to create 3 because maybe I want to use one as an example that I would walk through as the teacher, and then give the students an example in class to work in groups to try and solve. And then maybe I want to use one on a quiz. And so I'm going to have it create 3 different ones. Now, sitting down and creating these scenarios can take quite a bit of time, but we're going to show you the magic of what can happen if we do it through AI. And so I'm asking it to create some about psychological disorders and ask the students to see if they can diagnose the disorder based on the symptoms in the case studies. So here's one again that I might use as an example. And I go through here and say, all right, these are the symptoms that I would cue in on. What is the disorder that these symptoms suggest? But notice that it gave me 3 different ones that I can use in different ways, or I could give a case study to 3 different groups in my class. There's endless ways that you can do this. In the prompt cookbook that Chris talked about earlier, it has an example where you have your students create their own case studies and evaluate the case study. So you can actually have students put in a prompt, look at the case study, evaluate it, and give you feedback. So I'm going to give you an opportunity. If we do have a heading that says AI authentic assessment here, and here's an example of one that you can put in and tailor. And then here's a link to the cookbook, which can give you more ideas about how to use case studies for more authentic assessment. But let me give you a few minutes if you haven't already been looking at examples. I'll put these examples back up if you want to tailor either of those prompts, but type these in and then see if the case studies are something that you feel like you could use in your classes. And you can actually, this shows a step 2 here. If you had done this one, you can actually ask it to generate the response, tell you what the answer is, include a patient's lab work. So you can continue to dialogue and ask it to tailor these to make them really effective for your discipline. Let's see. Has anybody already been playing with this and put in a nice case study that you would like to share with the group? Let's see, Jessica just pulled yours up. Do you want to talk through this and talk about what you like about it and what might be challenging? What you might have to go in and tweak around a little bit to get it to be exactly what you wanted, Jessica?
Well, I actually like this the way that it's presenting, so I
Okay.
probably wouldn't do too much tweaking. What we have found though is it really depends on which model you're running it under. So this was run with the Llama 3.170B Instruct.
Okay.
We also ran it as, oh, what were the other ones? We did a GPT 3.5 Turbo, and we did a Claude, I think. So we had the three of them, and this was what we preferred in the result across the faculty who were looking at it and deciding that this was a nice kind of, we're calling them a skeleton, I guess, because we're medical. But it's a nice skeleton for somebody to run based on the types of questions and resources that we would need for residents to kind of think through.
Okay. I love how you were, so specific, asking it for IRAT, GRAT questions and a rubric to evaluate. So in addition to just the scenario or the case study, you got really specific about help me with evaluation and what can you provide that I can use for assessment. So I like that. Do you want to explain a little bit about IRAT, GRAT?
So IRAT and GRAT, that's individual level, and that's really kind of making sure that they're coming to the activity prepared versus the GRAT, which is a group. So IRAT occurs prior to the activity. GRAT is kind of something that they do collectively after the activity, towards the end, so that, again, you can see whether there's a change in knowledge, not like a t-test per se, it's not like a pre-post, but in some way it is. So it's, are you prepared? And then how does the group think about the activity?
Okay, yes, good, thank you. I think that's helpful and just gives some additional insights into different ways to assess. You have
Well,
that individual assessment and yeah.
And that's the beauty of it, right? Is if your discipline has specific ways, we also have, there are other standards quizzes that and test question types that the medical field has. And what we have found is if you specifically ask for those, like board review questions, it'll give you those. And again, it's very impressive what it'll come back with.
Yeah, and you can see here even giving you some tips on how to set up the
How to set it
activity.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so just another tool to have in your assessment toolbox is using case studies and scenarios, and this can help you and save you some time when you have to come up with these. Writing these out, coming up with your own examples can take quite a bit of time and a lot of mental energy. And so having this at least to react to and just have something to start with that you can tweak and make it the way that you want it to be can save you some time, and then also cut down on that cognitive energy that you have to spend to create these yourself just out of thin air. So I am going to stop sharing because I think we're now going to kind of move into and talk about tools that can be used for grading, AI tools for grading. So.
Yes, and this is going to be kind of like a tool shootout. And Chris and Margot are my wing people, and excited to just kind of share out some of these tools. So we'll start out with the fact that there are several out there that you can be using to kind of help you with grading and take those Sundays back. The first one I'm going to throw out there is Packback. Chris or Margot, what do we got to say about Packback? What can we tell our friends about how this can help them take their Sundays back?
So to give you the marketing pitch for Packback, it's a tool for doing discussions where it uses AI to prod students to incorporate more rationales and like sources and to address other people. So their marketing pitch is that it's the discussion board improved and it uses AI to look at what students are saying to grade, are they earning enough curiosity points as it shows in that screenshot there? Like, are they citing sources? Are they using the passive voice instead of like making statements? It is a tool that that costs per student, I think. So you would license it and get a cost per student, or I guess the cost gets passed on to students in your class when you license that tool.
So we
It
did have
is-
somebody.
it-
Oh, go ahead.
It
Go
is
ahead.
approved by UF, so you are able to use this tool, but it's not free of cost.
So just to clarify, you mean you would need to include a material and supplies fee on your class?
Yes.
Which means
Exactly.
It would not be able to be taught under a special topics number?
Well, there's also another option where if your department purchases it, so we do have some colleges at UF that have purchased it, for a specific department, and then that wouldn't be passed on to the student, it would be included for that department. So
Okay,
there are
thank
some
you.
differing pricing options there. Depending on
Okay.
what other material costs you have, right? So like we want to be mindful of how much we're charging students, but for instance, if we had an open educational resource in this course that we are using as our primary text, maybe we could use something like this to layer it on.
Yeah, and I think I saw some feedback from faculty finding that, maybe this is a good tool for early students, for early undergraduate students, but that their graduate students really didn't like it because they because of the amount of pushback that Packback gave them on things, and they felt like they should be able to articulate that they already articulated it well enough. So the use case is something that you try out. For some courses, it works well. Maybe for other audiences, not as well.
We had someone in our harnessing AI faculty learning community last year that tried this and had some feedback about it.
We have a lot of colleagues in veterinary medicine that are using this, as well as in IFAS.
Awesome. Okay, next up, Gradescope.
So Gradescope is a tool that's approved and it's actually funded by UF IT. So there's no charge to join the Gradescope program. What Gradescope is a tool for streamlining grading. So not automation of grading, but streamlining of grading. The idea behind it is that it gives you a grading interface that is controllable with keyboard shortcuts. You can grade really quickly. You can adjust rubrics on the fly. And the main audience for Gradescope is people looking for a way to streamline grading of paper-based quizzes or exams. So if you're given an exam in class, you might take those exams, scan them into Gradescope, and then divide the grading of those exams amongst a TA team, or even if it's just by yourself, and use some of the tools in there to kind of speed up the grading of these paper exams and facilitate regrade requests, and students can see the exams in Gradescope through Canvas rather than having to come to your office to collect the paper. So that is I'm trying to give a 1-minute elevator summary of these tools.
And one of the things I love about Gradescope is it kind of lets you create clusters of similar students, and it pulls those grade snippets, like different feedback that you might give, so that you can give students in similar clusters, similar feedback. So it
Yeah.
streamlines grading in that way.
I guess the streamline grading and make grading more consistent are the two pillars of it.
So like if you have a class that's co-taught by a lot of people, you can get to higher inter-rater reliability for how they're grading, and it'll kind of make transparent if you have harder TAs and easier TAs.
So
this
is
still
the,
in pilot form? Oh, sorry. Trish.
yeah, I was just gonna say, does the interface look like SpeedGrader? I'm hearing a little bit about the functionality, but I'm not seeing how it would work. Are we gonna go on to another slide, or is this something I should take up outside of class?
It would probably be something to take up outside of class. There is, nope, not to you, Jennifer, but to everybody. Page about it here, with some videos, and it's a separate interface. You would basically need to upload your quizzes or exams into Gradescope and kind of mark things out, so that way whenever you scan students things in, it will let you grade questions on a per question basis rather than the whole exam at once. So if this sounded interesting to you, like a tool for speeding up grading paper-based tools, check out that website or reach out to me and I can tell you a bit more about it after class.
Okay, the next one is Perusall, and we've actually used this one in CTE with our TEA programs and several of our other online classes. The kind of the beauty of it is we upload the PDF article or the reading material, and you're able to make comments or insert comments on it in live time and have kind of dialogue and reply to each other. So it's kind of like a discussion board on steroids. That's kind of my elevator pitch for Perusall. I really like the fact that it's got this dashboard on the back too, that'll help me with some analytics. So that is Perusall. Mike, did you want to add anything about Perusall, or Chris or Margot? I like the fact that I can throw an article up there and have them engage with it.
Yeah, and then Perusall, this page is showing that Jen is showing it uses AI on the back end to evaluate student comments, and you can determine how that grading behind the scenes is ranked. You can pull these little levers and say, I want 20% to count time that they actually spent in the article. You can wait if they read all the way through the article, at least scrolled down to the bottom, or did they just make some comments at the beginning to check this off and say, I made my 3 comments. So, and then AI, once they do make a comment, will evaluate those comments and actually grade it for you. And it's synchronized with Canvas. So those grades will go into your grade book. And so anyway, you can weight these different things here, and it will use AI to kind of provide a score.
And
Yeah,
to be
and I
clear,
think
it's like yes, no, that they did the thing, not necessarily like AI to evaluate what they said. It's just a algorithm to check, did they make a comment or not? That's what the grade is.
Yeah.
So this kind of gets into that area of space where I would say maybe this isn't technically AI, it's just an algorithm, right?
programmed, yeah.
It does exactly what you set the conditions to be without any sort of intelligence behind it. Just was there a comment or not, or did they read to the end or not?
Yeah.
And I just wanted to piggyback on what Michael was saying, that it integrates with Canvas, and that's the real selling point of this. It's free to students as long as you select the free option. And not only does it integrate the grading part in Canvas, it can connect with your groups in Canvas. So you can ask Perusall to use your existing groups in Canvas. You just have to make sure that you set up those groups in Canvas before you set up the Perusall assignment.
That's
so
a
that they
great
connect.
point, Margot. Great point, because we do group our students and have different groups read different articles. So
yeah, or especially in a very large enrollment class, you might have students read the same articles, but you might want to kind of replicate the idea of a discussion board, but smaller discussions with those students.
awesome. All right, feedback fruits.
Yeah, for feedback fruits, we have a tool called Group Member Evaluation. It helps students evaluate other students that are in the same group as them. And this tool includes an AI feature that provides coaching feedback to students as they give feedback. So it'll look at the context of the course, ask them to give feedback about that particular content, and coach them at giving constructive feedback. So we'll give them messages like, this doesn't look constructive. Could you refocus on these elements?
The Canvas AI tools, I know, Margot, you were gonna share some of the beauty of saving our discussion board, helping us with our discussion board responses.
Yeah, I think that this is a wonderful thing that just launched this summer in Canvas and is available for you to turn on in Canvas as an instructor. It's really a tool to help you as an instructor rather than to help your students. And it can help you summarize discussion boards, especially if you have a very large class. You can ask questions and retrieve information from different discussion board topics. So for instance, you could see where your students are struggling, and then you would be able to send, for example, an announcement to your entire class talking to clarify those points. So I recommend trying this out. It's something that you can turn on in the settings in Canvas. And I've found it insightful in classes that are very large.
It looks like Gabby has a question.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a question on the tool that redirects commentary from students when they might have not as constructive feedback to provide to their classmates. How does that handle students whose English is not their first language? Because some of the writing conventions are quite different. And so I would worry about those students perhaps getting picked on a little bit more by that AI.
So this is not like a peer review tool. So it's not like evaluating like a piece of writing that's been submitted by the students. It's specifically for like when you have students in a team that's a stable team over the semester, and they're giving each other feedback on the team dynamics. So it's personal feedback, like how did you interact with this person? And it's coaching you to give better feedback in that way. So these are very short comments that like, for example, if you and I were on the same team and I was giving you personal feedback, it would kind of coach me in how I could word that better to be
Okay.
constructive.
I mean, I think my question still exists, perhaps not as an in-your-face type question, but have those studies been done on that, or that evaluation been done to see how it's handling just different backgrounds of the people involved with giving feedback in that way?
Yeah, they're very gentle. They are very gentle suggestions that you can accept or reject. So like, for instance, if I wrote something like, Chris and I are on the same team, and I say, Chris, you suck, it will tell me like, please don't send this message. Can you think of a way that's actually like, you're supposed to be commenting on a very specific criteria here. This is remember from the rubric, these are the criteria you're giving Chris feedback on. How could you word that in a way that talks about Chris's concrete actions?
Okay.
Right.
So
yeah.
it's
and
not telling
it won't
you
let you say
it's not giving you new words. It's telling you like, it's giving you suggestions to like reflect more deeply.
Okay.
right. Could you go beyond comparing Chris to a vacuum cleaner, for example? You know, maybe we can dig deeper.
Love it. Love it. Well, we'll pause here for just a second and see if anybody has, what your thoughts are on some of these tools, if anybody has tried any of them. If anybody has got some other AI tool that you're using with an assessment piece. We're just going to pause here for a minute and see if anybody wants to share.
Hi, we've been using feedback roots, and with Margot's help, we were one of the, I think one of the earlier adopters of feedback roots, and we found it really useful. Very easy to use, and it provides all the information that we need. And we're kind of unique in the sense that we have like 1,200 students in our course, and we are a small office of 3. And so being able to extract that data right within Canvas is really good, really useful.
Yeah, so it's nice because it's embedded in Canvas, but it is this very particular use case of like if you have a course that students are working in very stable teams, and Gus is from interprofessional education, and they have students in very stable teams that cross 6 colleges over multiple semesters that they need to kind of track that those teams are functioning well.
Right. And one of the cool things that we're going to implement this year is we're going to add another layer of AI with the reflective writing prompts. So we have the students, once they get their scores back from Feedback Fruits, we're going to have them reflect on their teamwork. And then we're going to use AI to help them write better reflections. Because sometimes we get some thoughtful reflections, other times, a student just says like, oh, I'm doing great, which may or may not be true, but it's not very reflective. So hopefully we can, integrate these different levels of AI with each other. And I'd like to see I'd like to see the evolution of Feedback Fruits, because compared to what we were using in the past, which was CATME, it's like light years ahead, but there's still a couple things that maybe it's because I'm being picky and we have, specific wants and needs within our program, but I'd like to see how it evolves from here.
Great. Thank you, Gus. I see Terry, you were using Feedback Fruits also for capstone projects. Do you want to pick up where Gus left off? How do you use it?
Yeah, I teach graduate students in a shelter medicine program. It's distance learning only. And they each have to, as the culmination of their master's degree, have to give a capstone project that they worked on. And anyway, it took me a couple of semesters to get all the kinks worked out of Feedback Fruits, because I don't think it was intended for that, because they're not really in teams, they're kind of a cohort. But they don't mind it at all. It's easier for me to manage, because when I have 15 students having to review one another, making sure that they all did, now I don't have to worry about it because Feedback Fruits manages that. So, and I came a little late, so I didn't hear the original prompt that you asked us. I'm sorry. But I also use Perusall. I saw someone say that, and I run an online journal club every semester. So they have a set of questions that they're supposed to use to critically review papers I select for them. And I really like Perusall for that. So.
Thank you for sharing. Jen Wooten has a question for the group. If anybody has an idea around student videos. Jen, did you want to pose your question?
Yeah, it's just, again, I work in the Department of Spanish and Portuguese Studies. So when we're working with student products, they generally are videos, right? And for the most part, they will be something project-based. It will be comments in discussion boards. And so I'm just curious as to what AI tools might assist students as they are conceptualizing working with projects. And I know that they could work with, all of the tools that we have in Navigator in terms of brainstorming and whatnot, but anything that might be specifically video based or lean into video creation, whether it's helping me look at 50+ student videos, whether they be projects or comments, etc.
I think Mr. Brown would be interested in finding that too.
Yeah, so there are not any major tools that speed up the process for me, but it does help collect things in one place. And one specific tool for annotations and comments I use is called frame.io. And basically that tool is great for letting students see exactly what you see, and you can annotate and they can share it as well. And UF gives us 2 gigabytes of storage for free for all students. And you just have to compress the file a little bit and upload those videos and then give them feedback in that way.
Great. I really appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Welcome.
I knew you'd have the answer.
I also
All
think we'll
right.
see more and more AI tools that are embedded directly in existing tools. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see like VoiceThread adding AI features. We know that Canvas has several new AI features on the horizon coming out soon. So I think you'll see this throughout all your suites of tools. If it's not here yet, Jennifer, I think it will be soon.
All right, well, keep the chat going, and I see several sidebar conversations and lots of dialogue about the tools. As we continue to, grow this network, you guys keep sharing what you're finding. All right. We're gonna do a quick little sidebar here and talk about AI detection. We would be remiss if in, this conversation, and I know that when Margot and John do their deeper dive into ethics and academic integrity, etc., this is kind of an opportunity for us. But let's talk a little bit about AI detectors. So AI detectors really are not reliable at best. There are different studies out there that will tell you that they work really well. Some say they work not so well. AI detectors really take a look at human written versus AI generated text. For the most part, they're not really reliable. The more advanced models are more reliable than the basics, kind of like you get what you pay for. But we are circling back here with ESL users also are more likely to be suspected of using AI because they use that formal writing. But basically, we want to be careful with accusing folks of using AI to write an essay if we're not really sure. And these AI detectors, they're not really reliable. Here's an example. Quillbot has an AI detector. If you've not used Quillbot, I like it for the translation features and some of the help with plagiarism checking. It's all built in. But with their AI detector, I copy and pasted out of ChatGPT a response. And it gave me that it's 78% of the text is likely AI generated. But I did copy and paste directly out of ChatGPT. This should say 100%. However, what I do see down here is our AI detector is advanced, but no detectors are 100% reliable. So it's kind of like a word to the wise. Another example of me grabbing Copilot and putting it into Quillbot. It did find that when I pulled Copilot, a Copilot example, it found it to be 100%. So I'm not doing an informal study here, but when I did compare ChatGPT to Quillbot or to Copilot, Copilot was a lot easier to detect AI than ChatGPT was, but I'll just throw it out there for your consideration. A little bit with regard to the Turnitin feature. Margot, did you want to speak to, the UF use of Turnitin as AI detection versus plagiarism and where we're at with that here on campus?
Sure, and I think Chris could contribute a lot to this too, because I know he is part of the testing and decision making. But I know that at UF, we do have Turnitin available for both plagiarism detection and for coaching. There's some plugins you can use with Turnitin, both in Word and Google Docs, that help coach students to cite properly and write original work. However, at UF, we did make the decision for some of the reasons that Jen's already described with problems with AI detection tools. We did not turn on the ability to detect AI.
Yeah,
And
so we're not alone in that. Many other R1 institutions, whenever Turnitin announced they were going to offer an AI detector as part of their plagiarism detection tool, a lot of R1 institutions declined to turn this on because our results with it didn't match the false positive rate that Turnitin claimed. So we had some skepticism about like the data set that Turnitin used to validate their tool, and Turnitin didn't share that with us. So we didn't turn this on because when you have false positives, that puts a lot of that puts the onus on the student. How does the student prove that they did the assignment that they said they did? There wasn't much communication and training available from Turnitin. We weren't prepared to offer that training to help instructors interpret these tools because they're not 100% reliable. You probably have encountered, some AI writing and have thought a little bit about strategies to deal with this. Even though you can't definitively prove things with AI detectors, you've probably thought about or read strategies of asking questions, digging deeper, having students explain themselves, do modifying your assignments and assessments to do different things. There's lots of strategies that we wanted to explore first before enabling this plagiarism detector that would lead to a lot of false positives that would be academic career destroying for students, especially with the power dynamics in play, without the proper training and testing. So that's the status of the Turnitin plagiarism detector, Turnitin AI detector at the moment.
And if you followed any of the news stories about, families suing school districts or institutions over their children being accused of cheating, when, it all kind of sits on our laps as we need to have better assignments so it's AI proof. And we also need to be thinking about defining what our assignments and what the use of AI looks like. For further consideration, what we're throwing out to all of you guys is, do you have an AI policy that talks about, what your expectation is and how you're going to handle it if you do feel that they have used too much AI? And the other piece is, what are your feelings about it? What are the ramifications? What does the use of AI look like in your classroom? What's appropriate? What's not appropriate? These are all the things that make their way into your AI policy as part of your course or your course syllabus. And we'll do more dialogue about that in a future session. The last thing I'll say about this is, if you can create your assignments so that it makes it okay for them to use AI, but impossible for them to get a good score without using their brain by some kind of personal reflection, human component, critical thinking, then you're going to be a better place. I mean, we don't want them just copying and pasting out of ChatGPT or out of Navigator. We want them to maybe use that as a starting point and then take it to the next level with their noggin. So I know I love to rant about that, but it just is what it is. I'm going to pause here for a second. Anybody have any thoughts on the use of AI detection, the use of AI policies, and maybe the conversation in general?
Yeah, I like to speak on the AI policies for a second. Our department thankfully provided us with language to put in all of our syllabi across the board, with flexibility of understanding that on a project by project or assignment basis, we can go further with detail. And I've run into some situations with students where I've detected AI and totally allowed it 100%. It was almost part of the assignment. So I have a lot of flexibility in gray area. And the biggest, I guess, common denominator that helps me is my rubrics. In plain and simple sight, I come back to the student and say, when I'm trying to assess you, does AI eliminate that ability to assess that particular skill or outcome or whatever? If you've interjected that assessment with this particular situation, let's say part of the assignment is inserting the learning objectives at the top of the assignment so they know what you're evaluating and assessing, not just, hey, here are instructions, this is what I need you to do. It's more like, hey, this is what we're going back to. We're revisiting these learning objectives at the top of the syllabus, which also almost entices the student to read more of the syllabus. And so from that perspective, it's not to just say, hey, I caught you or you got in trouble. It's more of like, remember why we're here and why you signed up for this class, and you're not allowing yourself even the opportunity to be evaluated on what you want to improve on. So it's almost like putting the onus on both of us and allowing for that acceptance.
I love it. I love it. Anybody have any thoughts in response?
Maybe not in response, but just from maybe a different perspective, you know, in health sciences and healthcare, I can see AI growing a lot, especially in academia. But I wonder, as students in the next few years become more comfortable and start relying on AI a lot more, how that's going to look in clinical settings. I can see AI maybe being useful, you know, writing. I mean, one of the big issues is just writing patient notes. Doctors and clinicians are often, you know, trying to find ways to make sure that that time is billable. But I can see that being something that's useful, but again, where do we put the guardrails on AI and you know, information like patient health information? I don't know. It just seems like there's a big gray area when it comes to the health sciences.
Well, Gus, I'm going to ask you to hold that question for next time and definitely bring that to our ethics to session 4, because that will be a great launch point. All right, Mike, going to bring us into AI chatbots as assignment support, our last
All
section.
right. And I'm very conscious of time, so I just want to talk about one other use of AI, and that's having your students interact with AI in these creative ways. How can AI be like a tutor for them? We found that our research shows that just one-on-one interaction and tutoring can be very powerful ways for students to learn. Sometimes sitting in a class, receiving feedback that the whole class is getting isn't really tailored to my needs, and may not answer all of my questions. So how can we use AI to create these tailored experiences for students where they can practice debating, where they can have a tutor that gives them feedback on what they're understanding, what they're not? As a test prep coach, how could AI act like a conversation with you as a professor, the student sitting down and just asking some questions and getting explanations? And so in the prompt cookbook, Chris already mentioned this, but you do have a section with these elevated recipes, and you'll find a lot of these prompts in this elevated recipes part to help create these AI interactive experiences for your students where they can go back and forth. So we do have some prompts in our guided notes document. They're down in the bottom under AI chatbots as assignment support. And these come from, I think, come from the cookbook. And so if you want to cut and paste and see what it's like to have a tutor, and we've highlighted the sections that you would need to tailor or customize based on your content or your discipline. But I'll just kind of show you, demonstrate how this might work with a test prep. I'm going to use the test prep coach prompt, and I'm going to go into Navigator, and I'm going to ask it to act as a test prep chatbot to help me prepare for the Florida teacher education exam for high school English. And so you can see I've kind of tailored this prompt. I put in, this is the test I want it to help me prepare for. I'm asking it to provide some examples one by one and let me answer them, and then for the bot to give me feedback. So here we go. So if you provided a prompt like this for your students and wanted them to interact with it and answer 10 sample questions and evaluate the feedback, I ask it to kind of use the similar format and test me in the content areas. And so I'm not an English major, but it's asking me to analyze this passage and then choose one of these as the answer, and then it will give me feedback. So my English teacher's in here, or my people. I haven't even read this one. If I chose C, I'm just choosing C without really reading. The correct answer is actually D, and it gives me a little rationale, and it's coaching me on helping me to try to understand what the difference between imagery and personification is. And then let's try another question to continue practicing. So now it's giving me another one. So notice that now I'm going back and forth with this. It's giving me feedback rather than me just answering multiple choice questions myself and hoping I got the right answer and crossing my fingers. This thing is now interacting with me and providing feedback. You could ask it to say, no, don't just select the answer, but give me the reason why and have me actually explain my reasoning. So how you build that prompt is essential. And then having your students do this and then share the results with you afterwards. They can actually click this button like you all have been doing in this meeting, and they can turn these assignments in. They could turn in the debate, or they could turn in their test prep or their tutoring session, so that you can evaluate or see where they are misunderstanding things or where they are doing really well. So maybe you've had a chance while I've been chit-chatting to play with some of those, but we're hoping this will just open the door, and that AI cookbook is there for you to experiment around with some of these more advanced ways of having your students interact with AI and having it tailor and customize content, helping students one-on-one, where you don't have the opportunity to sit down with them one-on-one. This can be an interesting way to get them to interact with the content. Let's see, Jen, Chris, Margot, do you have anything that you want to add about these ways of using this as a chatbot that you'd like to share?
I like students interacting with tools like this because one of the complaints that we all have is that people don't want to come to office hours. They're not reaching out for me to help in a timely manner. And chatbots, one nice thing about them is that they are low stakes. It's like they're a little bit more approachable than office hours for students and could serve as a triage tool. If you're providing prompts to help tutor them, like if you're writing prompts and ask them to try these things out, to import them and try them out, then maybe even your prompts could say, hey, if you continue to struggle with this, maybe consider attending my office hours. And they can look at those office hours and syllabus. So basically it's like a triage tool as a first step for students to see where they need help to actually engage with you in a meaningful manner at office hours. So that's my thought on it.
Thank you. We want to be conscious of your time, and so we've reached 2:30, and we appreciate you joining us. Like we mentioned, please join us next time for our conversation about ethics, and we'd love to see you join us for that, and put that on your calendar to join us for the next one on the 21st. But thanks for spending a little time with us this afternoon. We'll hang out here if you have questions. The prompt cookbook, someone asked
It is
in our
linked
notes
in the
document.
notes. Yep.
Yeah, you can find it. I think it was right up near the top. Yeah, in the
Right there.
authentic assessment, it's linked, and in the multiple choice section, there's a link to the prompt cookbook. And Chris has given it to you today for free for coming to this workshop.
You need to autograph that, Chris.
I think he needs or they need sorry, not he, the link to the notes too, because they joined late.
Oh, yes. Okay. It looks like someone put a copy of the notes document. And if you need to sign in,
Brian.
let me drop that sign in link in one more time if you.
Can I
happen
ask a
to
quick
miss.
question about the tutoring function?
Sure.
So, this seems like it would create a real opportunity for students to reinforce inaccurate knowledge. They would be in a situation where they're asking the robot to quiz them, and their own knowledge of whether the robot's answers are right or wrong is limited. And so there could be a sort of circular reinforcement of misapprehension. In the same way that often when you give students a project to work on in small groups, if their baseline understanding of what they're supposed to do is not right, then they go off and reinforce their lack of understanding of it. And then everybody's project turns out a little bit wrong because they got off on the wrong foot. So have you all talked with people who've had that kind of, the student gets into a bubble with the AI, and they generate a false sense of competence that then you have to unwind for them in an unpleasant way? Or does that just not happen?
So this depends on the subject matter and the level and the amount of interpretation and things.
Yeah.
There are strategies for doing better to minimize the risks of that happening and then correcting them if they do happen. So, for example, instead of calling upon AI to use its own body of knowledge, if you are creating prompts that provide a lot of the content knowledge in it, and say, use this to generate the questions, AI is better at summarizing provided content and creating questions from that rather than generating it from its own body. That requires longer prompts, but as a way to reduce the chances of bad questions and bad responses, and also narrows the scope of what it's going to ask about. A lot of this comes with AI literacy. So there's AI literacy on our part, on knowing what the pitfalls are, like you're pointing out here, and doing a lot of literacy training for students on the appropriate uses of this and what they need to check as well. This should be a supplemental tool, and then maybe assignments are like a peer review where they cross-check each other's tutoring sessions for accuracy, or they are turning that as was Michael suggested, they turn in that tutoring session, and then you can have a chance to look at it. As you said, it's kind of at the same level of they could get misinformation by asking a friend, and a friend tells them the wrong answer.
That's exactly the model. It's just a garbage in, garbage out problem.
Right.
But here it has the authority of the, but I did the tutoring with the chat bot, and so this must be right.
No, and so that's where there is literacy in there of what that AI needs to be assistance but not authority, is the phrase that I find myself saying a lot. And we have to definitely couch these tools as assistive tools, but not giving authoritative answers.